There is an ever-lingering nature to the 2000s, immortality of a new, painful millennium. The past never dies. That is perhaps the horror of human experience. Every thought and feeling echoes through time. Decades never end, not even when the clock ticks over to a new period. The 2000s will live on into the 2020s. It always lingers in either thought or software. The internet has become a repository for these cultural relics, no matter how obscure, bizarre, or out there. These subjects fossilize, never vanishing, such as the bizarre but largely benign group Digiclips, that I previously covered, a gathering of esoteric Digimon true believers, holdouts of the American anime zeitgeist of the mid-2000s. A brief phase in the mid to late 2000s that included such things as Dragon Ball, Bleach, and Naruto. I already spoke my piece on that franchise, but there's always another part that deserves investigation. One proper for the still lingering sensation of the Halloween season, as fall comes to the cold death of winter. The strange story to be told around a fire about Masashi Kishimoto's best-selling manga series, Naruto. It, after all, held an occult sway over the middle America of the 2000s, but there was osmosis. Osmosis between that and the edgier cultural trends such as goth, emo, pop punk, and other underbellies of the day. Concoctions that created the digital youth culture of the period. Jashin, not Ja, is the best to invoke for this. For, from here, sprung a mysterious creed. The story of Jashinism begins in 2000 across the Pacific Ocean. On March 3, 2000, Masashi Kishimoto published the first volume of Naruto. This story, though, does not involve or even really begin with Naruto as a character, no matter how many volumes the Orange Delinquent has sold. It is a lot. It would, though, lead down the path to the subject of the story. It begins on July 10, 2006, when Kishimoto introduced the antagonist Hidan, a member of the villainous group, the Akatsuki. Now, from what I remember, Hidan was not a particularly remarkable villain. He was the sort of foul-mouthed villain who fought to inflict pain and please his god. But what do I know? I stopped really watching Naruto Shippuden around the pain arc, which, coincidentally, is what Hidan liked to inflict. His whole gimmick was he was a living voodoo doll crossed with a Grim Reaper, which is edgy, yes, but badass. This was Hidan's appeal. He was a fan favorite, a simple character with a cool ability. He was also immortal, apparently, a masochistic, immortal ninja, and when he made his anime debut in 2008, this netted him a lot of fans. A lot of fangirls, too. Did I mention he was a pretty boy who rarely wore a shirt and had green nail polish? His favorite word? Satsuriku, massacre. Very 2000s. All women love murdering anime men. His most interesting trait was his religion. Religion in quotation marks. Hidan claimed to serve a god named Jashin, a god who had granted him immortality for his abilities and massacres. Jashin itself can be translated as wicked heart, evil god, evil design, etc. Pretty to the point. Now, Jashin was never expanded upon much in Naruto or Naruto Shippuden. It was a random bit of backstory, an odd, unique bit of world building. In story, it may have been a concept Hidan had simply created to justify his killing. Apparently, the concept was revisited in Boruto, but this was long before Boruto. Jashin only mattered because he let Hidan turn into a spooky, scary skeleton using an inverted triangle in a circle, which some have called an inverted pentagram, but it's not. The implication is there, though. Hidan wanted to be a good neighbor by slaughtering people. The triangle was set dressing, but in a circle, it is an ancient symbol. It has been used in varying forms across religions in both East and West. Jashin's triangle, according to fans, has a unique symbolism. The interior means self, the three sides of the triangle represent pain, life, and death. The three spaces between the circle and triangle, mind, soul, and body, with the circle representing the world. According to fans at least. No word from Kishimoto. He has spoken on Hidan's character, his character and surprising popularity. This is, after all, a character who never meets the series' namesake in the manga, and only technically in the anime. According to Kishimoto, Hidan is based off the Japanese Shingami, no Tensei, the Japanese equivalent to the Grim Reaper. Apt design for a man who follows a masochistic ascetic religion. Too bad he does not have a Jamaican vibe to add to that voodoo juju. A design encompassing death from both hemispheres. It makes use of both the skeletal Grim Reaper appearance and scythe, the scythe being his main weapon beside his self-harm spikes, all of which serve his malign purpose. For Americans unexposed to anime, and those not, Kishimoto's intent was not lost. The idea behind Hidan was popular enough to expand his screen time in the anime, with the concept of his powers and cult being explored in the sequel series. Why is Hidan important then? Jashin, or Jashinism. Hidan's weird death cult. It has obscure origins. For all the pain it brought, the audience thought it was cool. Maybe a bit too cool. Around 2006-2008, Jashinist websites began to pop up. Most are dead by now, but the idea is not. People were claiming that not only was Jashinism real, it was based off a forgotten religion, and it was correct. As Hidan's popularity grew, so too did desire to know more. The issue was if it was real or not. Many claim Kishimoto had based Hidan's beliefs off an extinct Japanese cult. All claims about it go like this. A widespread religion that died off centuries ago, but was revived when it was featured in the anime/manga Naruto. Followers of this religion must worship Lord Jashin. They believe that after every last heathen is sacrificed, a new and peaceful earth will be created. Urban Dictionary. No doubt it was easier to find or fake material online in 2006-2008. All citations about Jashinism are circular. The issue was that Jashinism seems to have not existed before 2006, exactly when Hidan premiered. Anyone who cites anything real always refers back to FAQs, forums, and blog posts, all without sources. Followers claim this is oral tradition, but most are skeptical. Doctrines between websites conflict. There was no centralized authority or forum. It seems to have been a mostly English affair, but there are German blogs about it, so it was international to a degree. Most beliefs run something like this. Jashinists must convert others to the faith, they must understand pain, and they cannot inflict pain without understanding it, which is a fair belief, I suppose. There was also supposedly a prophet of Jashin thousands of years ago who was immortal, maybe, but it was not Hidan. They find that offensive. I can only say I think on all of these because there is no centralized creed. Nearly anything pre-2010 is gone or inaccessible. This is the best material I was able to turn up on Jashinism and its beliefs. The earliest, most substantial post on Jashinism comes from Time for Nothing, on a DeviantArt blog titled "Jashinism is Real!" Time for Nothing talks about finding out one of their friends' friends was a real Jashinist, who, according to the post, was addicted to Hidan and claimed if you read the Jashin Bible, it says you can't marry or have babies. When looking into it, all the poster could find was rumors which led them to believe it was a sort of blood cult, going on to claim it originated in Japan a few years ago and now has spread across Europe, Africa, the United States, and some of Russia. Take it all with a grain of salt, as this is a nearly 10-year-old DeviantArt blog post, but it is a substantial source that confirms Jashinists existed pre-2010. The most complete manifesto on the faith comes from the blog Martial Arts and Spirituality, under the post Jashinism, the religion worshipping Lord Jashin, worshipping misspelled, from December 16th, 2011. It claims the religion was not invented by Kishimoto and has slowly spread through Japan, China, and Africa? Odd. The tract argues that the practice of Jashinism is more akin to Taoism or Buddhism, a faith that is practiced through a philosophy of life. Though wrath is permitted and modern/new Jashinists pray more than sacrifice, while Hidan is an example of an old Jashinist. Martial Arts and Spirituality closes with this somewhat affirming statement: Jashinism teaches its disciples to not fear death, and rather to see it as an end of a good run instead of the end of a life. Jashinism also teaches its disciples to be faithful and, as stated earlier, to understand pain. Then there is a 66-long comment section, one that ends with a good compilation comment on the variety of Jashinist beliefs and theories. The blog also has posts on katanas and how to master electrokinesis, hydrokinesis, or pyrokinesis, if you are into that. So how much value it has is up to the reader. For research on online anime cults, though, it is more than enough. Primary sources and all that. There is also the German blog Gib es einen Jashin-Glaub, As is obvious, it is in German, so I can only read it through translation, but it is still somewhat updated and has a lot of info, being the best international document on Jashin beliefs. It appears to be an investigation by the poster into the legitimacy of the Jashin Galop, or as the blog is titled in the English translation, Is there a Jashin belief? What was the primary form of this Jashin belief then? And is it real? As said, everything about the legitimacy about the religion, much less Jashin, is spurious and lacks solid backing. Blog posts do not prove the existence of a hidden religion. A Japanese religion that predates Shinto? Highly unlikely, if not impossible. While the term can be argued, Shinto, as in Japanese animism, has been the dominant religion of Japan for its entire history, as it absorbed both native and foreign cults into traditional Japanese practice. Both Buddhism and Taoism were adapted into Shinto when transmitted from China. Shinto even predates the earliest Japanese writing from the 5th or 6th centuries. Nearly all historical claims about Jashinism are easily disprovable, if not outright false. One being it emerged on the island of Shikoku during the Jomon period to the early Nara period. This would mean it predated most forms of organized religion, which would be impossible since the modern concept of organized religion emerged in the Middle East and Mediterranean, not reaching Japan directly until the 1600s. Others claim it spread from Japan to China to Africa around the 1800s or more recently, a nearly impossible sequence of transmission anyways. If it was more recent, it would make more sense. But again, is Jashinism a recent invention or a long-established creed? Followers sidestep this problem by saying Jashinism has been secret for most of its history. There are nearly no cases where a secret religion without a centralized authority or even sacred texts have survived unchanged for thousands of years. In most cases, foreign cults or beliefs introduced to Japan, either through China or homegrown, were absorbed into Shinto, as the system could integrate them into Japanese society. Only totally foreign religions survived basically intact. This is why there may be an element of Kakure Christan to the Jashinism mythology. Better known as Japan's hidden Christians, they were a collection of native Catholic communities that survived persecution to the 1900s. In secret, these Japanese Christians maintained a form of traditional worship despite suppression by the government. Now, the hidden Christians did survive about 300 years, but how mixed their worship became with native Japanese customs is questionable. Even then, these lineages often only survived persecution due to isolation. Why bring this up? Claims Jashinism is both an ancient religion and a hidden religion are conflicting. In Japan, it would either completely die off or become a Shinto cult, due to the highly syncretic nature of Eastern religions. To some degree, even the hidden Christians could not avoid this. When rejoining the Catholic Church in the 1900s, most had to reform their practices to church doctrine or continue to exist alone with these unique practices. The only proof to any legitimate origins of Jashinism and Shinto comes from an unsourced citation of an untitled Shinto encyclopedia. I will include it here for fairness and archival purposes. The following is a section from a Shinto encyclopedia, which many believe refers to Jashin. In the countryside, Konpira was worshipped as serpent kami, Jashin as a rusagami. In this way, many permutations of the cult developed, including belief in the kami's protection of livelihood, healing of illness, and preventing disaster and welcoming prosperity, Josai Shofuku. Disclaimer, this does come from the Facebook page, The Truth About Jashinism, but they tried to provide something. I did look into the shrine at Konpira, or Kotohiragu, I guess, which is located on Shikoku. The kami/spirit worship there is not named Konpira. It is actually O Mono Mushi no Mikoto, which is based off a Buddhist Chinese-derived deity of seafaring. It may be a serpent, though. The Truth About Jashinism goes on to state about Jashinism, there is evidence Jashinism is ancient, there is evidence that it is something new, but in my own opinion it does not matter if Jashinism is old or new, if Jashinism is an actual god or philosophy. What matters is that Jashinism is a part of the world now, and that we were fortunate enough to have found it. Perhaps acknowledging all the conflicting information and theories. This is the issue with all of Jashinism, no acknowledged uniformity within it. Each form, group, and person claims something different. Religions can hold a variety of beliefs or sects within them, like Hinduism or Shintoism, but those religions are a supermajority in their region and geographically isolated, either on a subcontinent or an island. Majority usually creates dominance. Jashinism is a belief that exists totally online, and nobody can agree if it is monotheistic, polytheistic, or atheistic. nor is there any in-depth description of practice beyond prayer and sacrifice. Here a Jashinist would point to the book Inshi to Jashin, a Japanese text from 1918 which supposedly attests Jashin's existence. We will come back to that one. Focus for now on Jashinism's lack of interior cohesion. It is a smorgasbord of religious ideas from across the globe, all built around a religion only attested in the Naruto manga. It is supposedly an Eastern religion, but actual Eastern elements in it are sparse. It more resembles a New Age interpretation of Eastern religions, claiming a multitude of heritages for legitimacy. Few of its elements have much depth or theological explanation behind them. The only real Eastern aspect is the acceptance of pain, which is a good religious precept, but it is a pretty universal belief. True, there is a Bushido/Shaolin element to it, but it is very Western. A desire to destroy/convert heretics and atheists is a rather martial Western or Middle Eastern religious theory. Not to add that the sort of understanding of pain is a Stoic concept, meaning there exists an element of Greek philosophy within it too. Add to the claim that there was a so-called prophet of Jashin. Most of these are highly Abrahamic concepts which would have been foreign to most of Asia until the 16 to 1800s. The Jashinist commandments highlight how Western Jashinism is. Theological laws based off the 10 Commandments of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. There are differences though, including such elements as no earthly pleasure, do not marry a non-Jashinist, never leave a sacrifice alive, and, oh, any sacrifice made must be human, along with other questionable points. Jashinists acknowledge these differences by stating there are 2 or 3 strains of the religion: the innocent or new Jashinists, the bloodborne or old Jashinists, and the Hidanists, who are heretics, all divided by their belief in sacrifice. Innocent Jashinists, or most online Jashinists, sacrifice by prayer instead of blood. They believe Jashin simply desires worship and not sacrifice. Bloodbound Jashinists are exactly what they sound like. Those who believe Jashin's covenant can only be upheld by blood sacrifice, supposedly by killing humans, but there are no recorded Jashinist murders, so I doubt the religion is as practiced as claimed. The last variety is a bit of a black sheep, either a branch or a heresy depending upon opinion, a group who believe Hidan from Naruto is the prophet of Jashinism. He does not practice a corrupted form, but the proper form of the religion. This one is full of fangirls. So these are the 3 flavors. Feel free to convert to any one of your choice if interested. Where does this all come from beside Naruto, fan forums, and online chatter? Most would point to the infamous Inshi to Jashin, a book published in 1918 by Tetsuo Wada at Waseda University in Japan. Today, it is exceedingly rare with only 3 known copies, all of them written in Japanese. One at Waseda University in Tokyo, and the other 2 at Rutgers University and the Library of Congress in the United States. Luckily, the Truth About Jashinism Facebook group was able to get some scans from the Library of Congress. Most info about Inshi to Jashin then comes from a poster named Andrew on the Jashinist Temple and Church of Lord Jashin forums. Andrew, according to his posts, was/is a history religious studies scholar from Georgia who was working on research about New Age religions. Since he liked anime, attested by his patrician avatar, he wanted to investigate Jashinism as an example of a New Age religion. So he signed up to the forums to get answers from the users directly. With the help of his Japanese teacher, Andrew took a look at what was available online about Inshi to Jashin, to see if there was any historical proof behind everyone's favorite Naruto-based blood cult. What the 2 turned up is expected. Inshi to Jashin has nothing to do with Jashinism as understood in Naruto. Besides sharing the term Jashin, which, reminder, means something like evil god, there is no info about the cult in feudal Japan, or even any statements about its beliefs. The title itself is best translated as False Gods and the Shrine of Evil. In reality, it is a book about Japanese Buddhist heresies, though as information is sparse, it might also cover Western perceptions of Japanese Buddhism. The professor did turn up Jashin means something like Cthulhu in Chinese, but nothing else. There is basically no evidence of Jashinism in Japanese historiography, only vague references to a similar term. But hey, Andrew, if you're out there, get in contact. I'd love to read your work. Maybe we can exchange notes. If you still have them after 6 years. The only real certifiable religion that resembles Jashinism is India's Thugi cult, from which Kishimoto may have got the idea, as he based Hidan's beliefs off something. As the Hindu-based Thugi, from which we get the word thug, killed to honor the destructive aspects of Kali, the goddess of destruction. so Jashin may then be a Japanese adaptation of the Hindu goddess. Not only did the Thugi, in either fiction or reality, worship death and destruction, the yantra, or symbol for Kali, may look a bit familiar. Its main design is an equilateral triangle in a circle, a divine deity associated with destruction that has a violent cult, and its main symbol is a triangle. It is important to remember that some Hindu gods were transmitted through Buddhism to China, where they were sinicized with Confucian aspects, then were adopted in Japan in a variety of forms, either as new interpretations or being absorbed by more popular deities. It is not impossible for Kali to have had a distant equivalent in Japan, or maybe Kishimoto simply engaged in the process himself. While Jashinism may not be real as it is now, there is something behind it, but I cannot say what. Supposedly, in a now mysterious or lost interview, Kishimoto claimed he based Jashinism off an extinct form of Shinto that held emotion above all else. But, as the interview may not exist, all that can be done is interpret, which people did, through the perspective of the mid-2000s. Jashinism was a product of the same 2000s cultural milieu that produced digiclips. Reminder, Coldplay's Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends, was the second best-selling album of 2008, with 2.14 million copies sold, only behind Lil Wayne's The Carter 3 at 2.87 million copies sold. While that was the mainstream at the moment, the digital counterculture was at an all-time high. Social media had only fully emerged in 2007, with the full impact of Web 2.0 not felt yet. Websites like MySpace, LiveJournal, and FanPop were at their cultural apex. Thus brings us to the term I have long skirted around. Emo. Emo was one of those cultural trends that is hard to talk about because it is mostly remembered for the things it was associated with, rather than what it was. It is hard to describe, things like eyeshadow, dyed hair, skinny jeans, and wrist bracelets along with a taste in certain music. Everyone knows what it is when they see it. Beyond that, emo and its timeline is still highly debated online. No one is sure when it died, probably by the early 2010s, but it was born in the 2000s. Emo was the result of the dying union of goth and mall cultures, mixed on the internet. A lot of these people were or became anime fans by the end of the 2000s, as early mass anime communities existed alongside emo groups on the same websites. Alongside others, Naruto then became very hot topic, the favorite haunt of the later emo waves, which I suppose is the precursor to the modern SoundCloud rap genre, which also loves Naruto. Musical heritage is a long descent. Hidan was very hot topic then. Pretty boy, nail polish, dark clothing, and literal death. So a lot of Jashinism then was mid-2000s youth rebellion that never died off. As one poster mentioned, a lot of us are only teens and were introduced through Naruto. To Jashinism, that is. A very screw you mom and dad attitude. The more one digs into it, the more obvious it becomes Jashinism is reskinned Satanism with New Age characteristics. That is why the equilateral triangle is often misinterpreted as an inverted pentagram. The whole purpose is to be as taboo as possible, either through breaking religious norms or anime. All a brief trend. It is no surprise it would have been popular among anime fangirls then. Not only was it due to Hidan, but it also had the appeal of 2000's edgy online rebellion. It is the perfect mix of performative atheism, edginess, and anime, a pungent concoction from 2000s forums, like LiveJournal, FanPop, Gaia Online, and more niche anime forums. A lot of the posts mention self-cutting too. If there ever was any legitimate form of Jashinism, it was not this variety. Jashinism is real the same way a parody religion is real though, a sort of religious fanfic begotten from Naruto. By this point, I think that is the obvious conclusion.
Who are you guys? And why are you all dressed the same way? What are you, in a band? Let's see, the gloomy one over there plays bass guitar, the girl does vocals and keyboards. No, the emo guy's gotta be handling the vocals.
We're nothing like that.
One need only look at the correlation of the Naruto and emo terms on Google Trends. Just like linking Linkin Park with AMVs, one can do the same with Naruto and emo. Both topics experienced a shared rise in searches in the 2000s. Emo saw its first rise in October 2005. Naruto saw a rise from March 2006 to July 2006. Both would maintain their popularity until December 2010, January 2011, after which both began to deflate, never again to recover. Naruto's last brief burst occurred with Shippuden in July 2010. From there, it would only decline as it vanished from American television. Since then, it has never matched its former popularity. Emo declined with it, entering a slow fall in July 2010, from which it is still falling, only being kept alive by brief searches for 2000s nostalgia. Adding in Linkin Park adds an even more interesting dimension to the chart. The band shared nearly all its search spikes with Naruto, one on December 2004, one on May 2007, one on September 2010, then the last minor surge on July 2012. The last spike is an anomaly, caused by the unfortunate suicide of Linkin Park's lead singer Chester Bennington on July 20th, 2017. There, I suppose, the cult influence of Naruto across America ended. There are still Jashinists out there, but any interest in the group is long reduced. I have no issue with those interested in the odd little faith. Better to rule online than serve in reality. As the Jashinists say, if one does not understand pain, then they have no right to inflict it elsewhere. I cannot call it a fake religion because I have performed a real theological analysis of it. As long as someone believes in Jashin, even if it is fictional, it survives. Not that I am the first one to investigate it. It is another cultural relic of the 2000s. Time to reflect as a new decade draws near. What oddities will we find beyond the horizon? After all, Hidan and Jashinism were just a small faith inspired by Naruto that strikes a strong chord among a small yet dedicated group. Happy late Halloween and memento mori.
No, wait, no. The emo guys